Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammadan abduhu rasul. You know what that means? I'm not sure I know all of it either. Mostly what it means that in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, the praise is due for Allah. All the praise is for Allah. And then we say that it's not just believe, it's not, you talk about your beliefs, it's a swearing to, like a testimony of in a court or in judges' chambers. You say, you swear to this, the truth, the whole truth, like this. So this is a shadu. I swear. I bear witness, actually, that there is no God worthy to be worshipped except the one true God. And I bear witness that Muhammad's his last and his final of all the messengers he sent. So this is a good way to start out the program. I noticed that I have two things I'm going to do here today, yeah? So I just want to be sure I do the right one at the right time, which is what I'm doing right now. This? It's something else. Okay, you like to be different, want to have some fun. Does that sound good? I got ideas. He said Q&A. You mean question answers? So instead of the typical thing, you ask me a question, I give you answers, this is boring. So how about I'll ask you the questions, you give me the answers. Or, I have another idea. How about just give me the answers, and I'll guess what the question was. If I'm right, I get a trip to the Bahamas. Like, in Jeopardy. They do that on TV, right? No. Okay, well, it was worth a shot. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Besides being tremendously cute, I'm... Yeah.
They said you were a pastor, background is Christian, why you became a Muslim.
Yes. First of all, my name is Yusuf. Can you say Yusuf? Perfect the first time. These years I've been married to my wife, she still says useless. Anyhow, could be a speech impediment. So I started out in Islam about 17 years ago, July 1991 to be exact. I had no idea that I was, I'm going to tell you something. Forget about being a Muslim, that I would even know a Muslim, that I would even sit in the same room with one. My family was pretty much involved in our church work. My grandparents and aunts, uncles, great aunts, great uncles, everybody were originally from Cleveland. You heard of Cleveland? There, come on. We moved to Texas. You heard of Texas? Did you vote for him? That's all I want to know. We got any Bush fans? No? Yeah? Still for Bush. If they would let him go for another term, would you elect him again? No? I think 2 terms is a lot. But anyhow, we moved to Texas early on in the 1940s, and we were still active in our church then. Even though when you relocate, sometimes you lose touch. You just don't get hooked back in, but we immediately hooked in. We were in what's called now, it's called Disciples of Christ. Back then, it was just called the Christian Church. There was a split that took place, and then after that, each group had to name themselves something, and ours went with Disciples of Christ. Anybody ever heard of them? Anybody from this? Disciples of Christ? No? It's not that big. It's known, their symbol for it is a chalice, and it has a cross on it. This is how you recognize it. And we had, the first time I ever heard about a conversion of anything, there was a Jewish gentleman who became a Christian. He became our pastor. And he was the one that when I was baptized, he was there, and I sat in his sanctuary with him, and we talked, and we had discussion about beliefs and so on. I was baptized about the age of 12. And a lot of what he talked about was strange to me because I hadn't heard those kinds of things, but I think some of it was coming from his background. That was my first experience of meeting anybody that wasn't just like born and raised and stayed in their same denomination or their same faith. Throughout all of my life, I was searching for God, and I liked to go to church. The Sunday school especially, it was more fun, you know. I don't think anybody really likes to sit through all the sermons, but in 1990, my father and I were in businesses. Even though he was an ordained minister, we didn't have our own church. So in 1990, we made some big changes in the business things that we did, and we were looking for new avenues to promote different things, so on. And in the very beginning, in 91, my father met a man from Egypt, and he said to me, we're going to be doing business with a guy from Egypt. And I said, well, that's good, you know, it sounds very exotic. I was thinking immediately of what kind of logos would we have, and how would our business cards be, what would we have for designs of, pyramids, and the Sphinx, and the River Nile, and, you know, a lot of ideas like that. Then he said he's a Muslim. I said, a Muslim? Yeah. I remember saying to my father, I don't want to meet this guy. Forget about business. I don't even want to meet this guy. And he said, why? I said, Dad, you of all people, you know. You should know. They are terrorists, hijackers, kidnappers. They don't believe in God. They worship a black box in the desert, and they kiss the ground 5 times a day. And that's all we need to know about them. Very open-minded, wouldn't you say? By the way, my father was born in Dearborn, Michigan. You ever heard of that place? He was, yeah. And my father insisted I need to meet this man, and I really didn't want to do it. But I lived in his house. We had a big place out in the country, and we lived out there, and so I had to kind of go along with him. But I said, it has to be on my terms. He said, what's your terms? I said, I want to meet him on Sunday, the Lord's Day, after church, before we eat. So I'll be in a state of fasting when I meet this guy. And look at this. And I'll have with me my Bible, of course, my cross. I had a nice cross about so big, and my hat, which said, Jesus is Lord. Like I said, open-minded, totally. And when we went to his place to meet him at the office, there was people going around, business, and I said, well, where is this guy? And I said, he's right here. I said, where? Now, what was I looking for? Well, I was fully expecting I'm going to see this guy in long flowing robes with a big turban on his head and a huge beard, you know, and eyebrow that goes all the way across, and that he's going to have some kind of sword